Welcome back to the Lion's Den and another Blue Collar Ballers episode. Today we speak with Chris Imms, who is the president of Imms Industrial Coating. This is a wide-ranging conversation. You know, we start off talking to Chris about what it's like working for your father. You know, his father is the one who actually started this business, and they've worked together for a very long time, and they still work together very, very well today. We talk about what are the applications within the industrial coating space. This was new for me. I had actually never spoken with a business owner who was in this exact niche. Really fascinating stuff, and some really high-tech stuff too that I found very, very interesting. But we also talked to Chris about employee development, you know, having access to the trades union and why that can be valuable. We talk about marketing to very large organizations building, you know, massive manufacturing facilities and what it takes to stay top of mind for them and to maintain a really strong reputation within that kind of space. So really smart guy, dropped a lot of knowledge on me, and I think you guys are going to enjoy this one. So check it out. All right. So Chris, before we started recording, we were talking about, you know, how your father started this company and a long time ago, and you've sort of risen in the ranks working alongside him, and he's now the CEO, you're the president. So you've been working together for a really long time. I'm curious, you know, sometimes in those family business scenarios, things can be a little sticky or confrontational or whatever when you have those family dynamics at play. But the vibe I was getting from you before we started recording was that you and your dad have like an awesome working relationship. So how do you maintain that, and why do you guys have such a good working relationship?
Because we have a good relationship. It's that simple. I respect him. He respects me. It's not anything confrontational. Don't get me wrong. There's always moments in any company, in any grown individuals, grown men are going to have their moments, but it's easily worked around, and we're able to really talk frankly to each other and speak the truths and find the answers. And it's great. We have a symbiotic relationship in a way. We've done things together our whole lives with fishing, you know, taught me how to hunt, all those things. And so those things carry over in your memories, sometimes good, sometimes bad, you know, but they're part of the dynamic, and that dynamic works very well around here because guess what? We'll do anything for each other. And in a family business, you will go the extra mile. You won't watch the clock. You watch the profit.
Yeah. I like that. Do you have any other family members that work in the business?
Yes, I have a cousin. He just joined the business about 3 years ago. He's a project manager here. He came from a HVAC firm, and we brought him over. We like to have family involved in the business because we can trust family. But we also have plenty of other people that are not in the family in positions of power and positions of authority. And those people are like family to us, and we treat them accordingly. Including the entire labor force. It sounds cliche, but we really watch after our guys.
Yeah, love it. So let's take a step back for a second. So Imms Industrial Coating. So what is the work that you guys do? What are the types of customers that you guys serve?
We like to refer to it as we like to work for the end user. We're a general contractor by license, so we can build a skyscraper if we want to, but that's not what we specialize in. We specialize in sandblasting, painting, industrial structures such as pulp and paper, oil and gas, power, automotive, manufacturing, chemical, lots of different industries that our services are required and needed. And so we do a lot of lead abatement. So basically we do tank linings, we paint structural steel, we paint floors, we do decorative things. We do electrostatic coatings on floors. We do tank linings, acid linings. We do general painting. So it sounds crazy, but if it takes paint, we do it. And in an industrial environment and in a heavy performance or we call high performance coating environment, you really got to know what you're doing and do it right, because these products are expensive and everything we do is dangerous. So you got to know what you're doing.
Yeah. Okay. And I saw on your LinkedIn, you have like 100 different certifications and like, you know, different sorts of safety precaution, OSHA and the lead abatement stuff and fireproofing and all that kinds of crazy stuff.
Yes. Yes, we do. We've just now started tipping our toe into fireproofing a little bit. and that's the intumescent things that go on the intumescent coatings that go on the structural steel. And
Okay.
basically, it came from 9/11. It expands in a way and gives you enough time to get out of the building, for the fire not to burn the major structural beams. So that's something that we've gotten into. But I'm sorry, what was the first question?
Yeah. So it sounds like you said you guys paint anything paint, but it sounds
Yes.
like you're really focused on these sort of like large industrial type structures, whether it's a
Yes.
manufacturing plant or a power plant or something like that.
Yes. So we will
Okay.
work for people like the Southern Company. We will work for people like Williams Power or Kinder Morgan, large end users. There's no GC between us and them. We work directly for them. So we have to swing and act like we're really big. And we have to have all of the certifications. We have to have all of the compliance. Compliance is a major thing in our industry now. Safety is major. So anything the guys take and they have to carry, I carry. That way I understand what they have, what it's actually qualifying them to do. So I don't put them in a position they don't need to be in. And then I go beyond that and, of course, carry the certs that I need to have to manage these projects.
Yeah. So the first thing that's kind of striking me is it's such an interesting niche that you guys are in. And, a lot of people who listen to the show, they are construction or tradesmen. And so they have a firm where sometimes they are jack of all trades. Sometimes they specialize in electrical or plumbing or painting or whatever. Is that how you guys got your start too? Did you start just as like a residential painting company and then evolved into this space, or how did this even happen?
My great grandfather was a residential painter. My grandfather started as a residential painter, then got into industrial. And
Okay.
then my father was only in industrial. And this firm has only done industrial work. Um, we focus entirely on. We started out in tanks. We were referred to as tankies. We would go around the entire country doing tanks for various companies. And that's all we ever did. And then we started diversifying ourselves into other markets and applying ourselves into oil and gas, into electric, uh, power generation, that sort of thing. They have more money, they have more requirements. It's much harder to work in those areas. You have to have more certifications, which makes you have to be extra qualified, which eliminates the mom and pops. And you have to do things the right way in those environments. So that's where we want to be. We want to be where it's hard, where it's difficult, and where it's complicated. That's where we make our money and we make our reputation.
Yeah, that's really smart. So as you're sort of like choosing a new industry that you want to expand into, a new sort of customer segment, um, what does that process look like? I mean, are you guys like sitting down internally, sort of like an annual strategy session, and you're like, hey, where can we expand into next year? What is it going to take? What new certs are we going to need? Like, how does that whole process work for you?
Well, let's just take fireproofing. That's data center. The data center boom. We know it's coming.
Mm-hmm.
It's
Mm-hmm.
tremendous. Now, if it's going to actually move out and become what they say it is with these huge power generation plants on these huge data centers like they're talking about, I still think that's not going to be quite as dramatic as they're saying. I think there'll be innovation along the way, but that was driven by that because those data centers are required to have them uh, for fireproofing, and it's a very expensive process. That actual process is it basically is you get a very complicated paint pump where you have A and B mixing at the gun, and it within seconds it sets up. So and it's a very expensive product, but it's also very difficult to do, and there's going to be a lot of it. So there's a lot of in the field work for that, and that's where we're trying to focus on to go out there and do the in the field work. A lot of people have gotten into applying those coatings in a shop. We don't want to do that. We want to go out in the field and do it there, do the connections and things like that. So that's something that was a conscious effort. Like, wow, here's this information, here's this tremendous market, supposedly $1 trillion. Well, there's got to be something going on there for us, and there certainly is. Floors like the one that we do behind me, electrostatic dissipating floors, that's going to be there. Polishing is going to be there, painting is going to be there, and all this very expensive process of fireproofing is going to be there, and there's a huge demand for it. So basically, we sit down and say, all right, we all got to have these certs. So you got to be a certified fireproofer to put this coating on. And then we begin to train our men, buy the equipment, move forward. It's simply market driven. And sometimes we just simply get asked and you move
Yeah.
that direction.
Huh.
I often say in a
The
business like this, one contract can change your life. One contract can ruin your life. So, it's a it's a boom or bust situation a lot of times.
Yeah, and since you are working on these like potentially massive sort of industrial centers or buildings or whatever, like how big is a contract? Are we talking about like hundreds of thousands of dollars or like a $50,000 project? Like, what is a project normally?
Well, they can be all over the board. They can be $10,000, paint my meter setting over here, or they can be a 20, 25, $30 million project. Sometimes we've had some projects where it's a $2.5 million project, and there was only $100,000 of the painting when we managed the whole thing. Did everything else
Mm.
for them through subcontractors, and we focused on their one little bit. And those have
Oh,
been
interesting.
successful projects. Yeah. So there's other ways to go about it. We can partner with people. For instance, let's say you got a vessel, a tank, you need to get it repaired. Well, I partner with a mechanical contractor. He goes in there, does his thing. I do my thing. I don't have to spend all the time becoming a mechanical contractor. I stay in my wheelhouse. I stay where I'm effective. I stay where I can make profit.
Yeah, but it sounds like you guys pride yourself on being able to manage much larger projects that go beyond your wheelhouse, your
Yes,
niche.
we are a union shop, and it gets a bad reputation. I understand everyone's feelings towards manufacturing unions. You see it every day, but in a trade union, it's completely different. It's a wonderful
Mm.
relationship with our, union halls and our representatives and all our guys that work for us through that. That also enables us to scale quickly and unscale quickly without guilt, because they're going to go out to the
Mm.
hall, get them another job, and roll on with their lives. It's amazing. And
Yeah.
unlike a lot of other people, I'm not renegotiating every Friday. I have a set contract, and it's everyone knows what they get paid, and everyone has agreed to that's what they get paid, and it is excellent. And being able to have labor in a world without labor is a huge advantage.
Yeah. I never even really thought about that. Never really heard about that. The trade union being
Yeah.
able to access labor like
Well,
that. That's awesome.
and you also see things that are awful, or other guys, not getting benefits, not
Mhm.
getting, how can you support your family with, you can't go get benefits? You're out of town. Somebody's got to stay home with the kids. You need to be able to carry the load of the household a lot of times. And that's what we have to make sure our men are capable of doing. Otherwise, we're going to have really bad workers. So we fight for more money for our guys. We pay above our scale a lot of times so that they can, we'll get a better, labor, we'll get better production, but also they make more money, and they're happier and they're content, and they need to be able to make a living wage. Now that varies
Mm.
around the country, but they are paid very well around here.
Yeah, that's awesome. So let's talk about kind of the marketing side of things, like how you find customers. Because what I'm kind of curious
Hmm.
about is, these sorts of coatings you're talking about, they sound like so specialized, and so unique. When somebody goes about developing a massive, manufacturing facility or power plant or something like that, does their development team know, like, hey, we're going to need these different types of coatings, let's go find a company? Or do they like not even really know what's out there available to them in terms of these really advanced coatings, and it's your job to kind of go like find them before they build and tell them why they need it? Like, how does that work?
No, these things are specified a lot of times within the engineering aspects
Hmm.
of the build. A lot, when this
Hmm.
thing's originally built, there's going to be a general contractor, a massive one over the whole project, and he's going to have everything specified, and so will the customer, engineered and worked with the suppliers from everything from, their roof linings to their door paints, colors. Everything's going to be decided well before we get there, in a new construction build. Now, if you're talking about maintenance, which is where we like to specialize in a little bit more, when we go to the existing structures, that's through
Hmm.
reputation. And
Yeah.
that's through, they will call the supplier and say, hey, I've got a problem here. Can you come look at this? For instance, like a Sherwin-Williams or a Carboline. We'll go there, look inside there and say, hey, this is what you need to do. This is a very hard product to put on. So call Imms. They'll get it done
Hmm.
for you. It's a tight time frame. You need to call them. They actually suggest us because they don't want any problems either. So there's a lot of different ways: reputation, websites, engineers, relationships. It used to be a $5 lunch, now it's a $15 lunch, but is invaluable for that 1 hour. You can sit there and establish those relationships, but they'll move. as well. They'll move companies and bring you into the fold with them because they know, hey, he's gonna take care of me. So there's many facets, many ways to get in. You can knock on doors. You can market yourself directly to them at trade shows. But the best way, the old-fashioned way, is reputation, and for your phone to ring. Because then a lot of times, if it wasn't for my phone, I wouldn't have anything to do because it's very difficult to get behind and see the decision makers. They're behind gates, they're behind security, but through reputation, you often find a lot of work.
Yeah. Well, then let's shift to, I want to talk about employees for a second, because you mentioned this really awesome ability with the trades union to be able to scale up and scale down. What about like full-time people that you have? Is it like, how is it a pretty good sized team that you have like at all times?
It's a simple philosophy. You got 10 people in our office that support everything out there in the field, and we have essentially about 15 to 20 core guys. They're really good. That's what you consider your foreman, superintendents. And then as they work together, as things are slower, and then as things begin to pick up, we spider web out, and they begin to manage people we get out of the halls and things like that. We start hiring. Sometimes we hire direct, call the guys up. Sometimes the hall handles it for us. Because there's certain people we definitely want. We know their skill sets. So, and that's basically how it works. We just spider web out.
And then for you as the president of the company, how much of your time is spent, let's say, doing like client facing activities, whether that's sales or, project management, versus doing like sort of internal facing activities, internal operations or employee development or stuff like that? How do you split your time as a leader?
I spend probably about 70% of my time in the field. I spend about 70% of my time out there on the job sites. You'd be surprised how effective just being there can be with the customer. I like to see my projects occurring, make suggestions, and move on. The rest of the time it's spent on internal efficiencies. How can we get better? What other offerings can we have? Studying artificial. I've spent a lot of time lately on artificial intelligence, trying to see how that could help us. I'll give you an example. We're starting to use it to develop safety topics, and it'll do it in about a minute. It's great. And the rest of the time, dealing with finances, trying to make sure the cash flow is correct, who hasn't paid, and believe it or not, even Fortune 100 companies will have a tough time paying their bills sometimes. Mistakes are made, and you have to correct them. So that's generally most of my time.
Got it. On the employee development side of things, I mean, you guys have been in business now for a while, a few decades, right? So I'm
52 years.
52 years. Okay. So you must have at this point built, some sort of methodology or something around like employee development, recognition, performance tracking, that kind of thing. Can you tell me a little bit about that?
Well, for our project managers and stuff like that, that's easy. We have a project management database. That's simple. Every construction company is going to have a costing system. So that's how they're judged and how many quotes they're putting out and how many they're winning. That's generally how it is. Each project manager is also a salesman. He's out there in the field. He's bidding the jobs. He's running the jobs. It is a cradle to grave philosophy here. Each each project manager takes on the project, bids the project, and makes sure it's billed, invoiced, and collected. So that does limit us at times, but it does give a very personalized, customer-friendly interaction. We're very involved. We know what's going on. There's not a conflict between estimating and the project management, which is a lot of the bigger companies. That's what happens. So they have to do it that way because they're so big. It's the only way to do it. But for us, being smaller, we're far more intimate, far more consumer, facing, there on site, working with our customers to find them the best solution. Sometimes the best solution is not the most expensive solution. Sometimes we have to find inexpensive solutions. And so we try to find those. And by that method, even though it may limit our growth, it helps our reputation, our productivity, and our profit.
Yeah. Well, talk to me about that, because I was chatting with somebody, actually the last episode we were recording. He's got a remodeling firm in Florida, home remodeling. and he was talking about, he in his early days just took whatever projects he could get, scaled his business up to 10 million in revenue, and then realized he was running around with his hair on fire every single day, and so he actually
Yes.
scaled down back down to like 6 billion, but it's a very, very efficient, very, very profitable 6 million. He says it's like the best experience. It's like way better than being at 10 million. It strikes me that you guys probably could be bigger than you are,
Mm-hmm.
but you're making a conscious choice to keep things efficient and keep things profitable. Am I reading that right?
I wouldn't say it's a conscious choice. It's just the way the market works and what we know we're capable of doing. And
Mm-hmm.
it's almost like it's known what our limits are right now, what it would take for us
Okay.
to take the next step. But like I said, it's one contract away. Um, People have gotten away from alliances. People have gotten away from partnerships. Everyone's browbeating each other with 3 or 4 bids, trying to look instead of, turning around and going, why don't I work or deal with this guy? Get a better rate. Have him here all the time because he knows what he's doing and he knows me. And let's have a relationship and a profitable one for both of us, a win-win. They've gotten away from all of that. So,
Hmm.
we're doing a lot of bidding and fighting each time. But that's just the way it goes right now. It's the way the market has turned. We've been trying to talk more to our customers about, hey, partnerships, things like that. But
Yeah.
still, it's been tough to get through the purchasing sometimes and see the logic behind it, that they could have someone very reliable at a good price.
It makes total sense what you're saying. Do you think that's happening because there are these like new software tools out there that make it really easy to send, a request for bid out there to multiple vendors simultaneously? Like, is it because it's too easy to do that?
In the 90s, we did it. Back in the 90s, there were partnerships and alliances everywhere. That was the buzzword. That was just the thing that everyone did.
Yeah.
And we were the beneficiary of a lot of that. But that went away. And it's just a mental change out there in the market. And people getting bad players, bad apples, untrustworthy
Mm-hmm.
contractors, ruining it, honestly, for the
Mm-hmm.
rest of everyone. So, and different philosophies sometimes in these companies. They get bought out by foreign entities. They just have a new way of doing business.
Yeah. Okay.
But what you're
Well,
talking about with your guy with 6 million, he found his sweet spot. He found his
yeah.
happy spot. He's content, and that's fine. And I often tell people, go be content. Find that spot that makes you content and you're making enough. You don't have to make $10 million a year, although you want to, but you can live off a million pretty well too. So finding a content spot is it's a sweet thing.
Yeah. And it sort of depends on what you want out of your life, what you want
Right.
to do with your free time, how much free time you want. That all goes
Right.
into it too. And yeah,
Correct.
that's how you find the sweet spot. Because he travels with his family, he goes on great trips, all that kind of stuff. This is kind of what he was saying. It's like, what else do I want beyond that? I'm already doing everything I want.
Yeah. He's content. He's personally content. And that's a beautiful place to be, because your mental health is very important, and businesses can take your mental health away. So you need to pay attention to that. And it's okay to be in a sweet spot.
Yeah. Let's talk technology for a second. So I'm kind of curious, with all these different types of coatings, is this the type of space where it's like there's like a ton of material science happening behind the scenes, and then it's
Oh,
like some new
yes.
coating comes out every couple years, really?
Yes. Fantastic. They're constantly being acquired. Someone develops a new paint. It's a small company. The bigger ones buy them up and redesign it, redevelop it. They're always tinkering with these
Mm,
products. They're trying to find environmentally more friendly products. They're trying to find more effective products, products that can, go on multiple surfaces. They're constantly, these are huge corporations. I mean, honestly, I called my Sherwin-Williams rep the worst salesman ever. He asked me why. I said, I should have just been buying your stock, not your paint. I would have been done much better. So, but there's tremendous amounts. One of the fascinating coatings, what I love to do, and it's very difficult, is electrostatic dissipative floor coatings. Those go into high tech. Um, we do it a lot for automotive because the simple act of moving a part from A to B creates static charge and can mess up the
mhm.
part. These floors have to carry an ohms rating and at a certain rate. So you have to ground these floors and put these floors on just right. I mean, you have like 2 mils of accuracy, and 1 mil is like the thickness of a cigarette wrapper, the
Okay.
cellophane on there. That's how thin that is. So they have to be perfect, and that they're fascinating and very difficult to do. And when you get them right, it's great. When you get them wrong, it's really bad. But love to do them. Just love the challenge. I like a challenge. I like to be challenged and be creative.
Yeah. When it comes to, labor, I know you've got the trades union you can tap into. I'm kind of curious about this. Some of the other construction companies or trades businesses we've spoken with, they talk about like a little bit of a labor shortage and how, there's not a lot of people young people going into this space. Do you
Yeah.
see that happening as well?
We do have some young people. People don't go into the trades nearly as rapidly as they used to. I mean, that was back in the 60s and 50s, guys. Let's face it. Everybody went up to college, and my generation, Generation X, we abandoned the trades, but they're coming back. There's a lot of money to be made now, and people are finding it. Immigration is a big hot topic right now, and if you're a home remodeler, it's a nightmare what's going on to you right now. But as far as in our space, immigration, you got to be legal, so we happen to be the beneficiary of all that immigration coming in, taking the framers jobs, the sheetrocking jobs away from local Americans, residents here, and they've moved up into the industrial trade so they can make more money because there was no money left back there. And so they've actually moved in. Guys that used to build houses, they're painters now, industrial painters, or welders, pipe fitters, and living quite well, doing and staying quite busy.
Yeah. Interesting. Okay. Hey, I was reading something you put here into one of the questions I asked you. You said you can pet a rattlesnake. Is that, are
Yes.
you literally,
Yes.
that's literal?
Yes. No. It's a sales technique. We all have that one customer or that guy. They're all saying, you can't talk to him. Oh my gosh, you just can't, it's going to be awful. I have no problem speaking to anybody and convincing them that this is the right way to go, because I have no problem telling somebody no. I always tell people the most powerful word in sales and relationships is no. If you tell someone you're not going to do it that way and you stand by your convictions and they proceed another way and you were right, they're coming back to you all the time. So I like to deal with a difficult customer, and I never get bit.
Okay. Got it. Awesome. Cool. Well, I want to wrap things up here. I guess you've been working at this business for a long time. I know you guys have scaled a lot in the past couple decades. I guess my sort of final question for you would just be, looking back on everything you guys have learned, all the growth that you've had, all the challenges you've overcome, if you could give yourself looking back in time some advice, or somebody with a similar company some advice, what kind of jumps out at you as something a smaller company needs to keep in mind as they are scaling?
It's okay to lose it. It's okay to lose. Try and don't quit. And that sounds so cliche, but actions are the key to success. Ideals are fine until you step forward and do it. We need more people in the industrial world to be innovators. We don't need them in tech. There's so much out there that can be discovered and done. We need more people here like that. So don't be brave. Take a chance. Put it forward. Put your foot forward. Fortune favors the bold, and don't quit. It sounds so cliche, but don't quit. I have been down and out before, and I've seen it here. Just like I said, me and my father stand and fall together, and we have been through it. And don't quit. I promise you, it will get better. And persevere. That's all I could go back and tell myself. You're going to persevere. You got this. I have a note on my desk from my father about a bid. It says, looks okay to me. And I tell myself that every time things get tough. Looks okay. It's going to be okay.
I like that. Awesome. Cool. Well, Chris, thank you very much for the wisdom, for sharing the story of your business and what it's been like to grow your business over time. Really insightful stuff. And thank you for joining me in the Lion's Den today.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me.